Jackie.
Girl.
Lemon liniment.
Red leather yellow. Unique New York. That's all I know.
I was going to say unique New York. I don't know anyone.
Oh, damn it. Well, here we are.
We did it.
We did it.
Like, basically, we've done it now. So if we wanted to end the show, we could.
We did.
It's our last one.
It's our last one. It's the finale.
Let me check the comments and see if anyone loves us or not.
Already?
Wow. 301, no comments? Forget it. This is why we're quitting.
Girl, how you feeling?
I feel good.
Yeah?
It's been really great.
I'm excited to be able to do this last one with these fantastic ladies that we have in store.
I know, we did save the best for last.
We truly did. No offense to past guests.
Those guys, forget all about them, Jackie. They're in the past.
Already forgotten.
So shall I tell you who's on this show?
Please, by all means.
This entire hour is going to be dedicated to me reading their bios because they've done so many things. It's kind of impossible. I don't think we actually have time to talk to them. Excuse me. So Vanessa Matsui is the best.
Yes, she is.
Basically, these two women on the show today are very, very talented and successful actors. And one of the reasons we wanted to have both of them here is they've also really pushed themselves into all different areas of filmmaking, like a lot of us are trying to do, you know, have one focus, but also the sky's the limit for, you know, for their creativity. So I find them both super inspiring. Vanessa, I know from her web series Ghost BFF, which is just such a fantastic line between, you know, humor and also dealing with serious subjects, but in such a fantastic and creative, innovative way. So if you guys haven't seen that, you have to check it out. I'm not the only one who likes that series because Elizabeth Banks's company was like, yoink, I want to promote this. Let's just put it out there. I'm Elizabeth Banks. Just don't worry. I'm in Pitch Perfect. Just like everybody loves it. So it's been incredibly successful. They're going to have a season 2 coming out. And besides that, you know, she was one of the Sundance New Voices Fellows and has created an interactive website about getting your first period. Very relatable content. And I can't begin to name all her acting credits, but whatever fantastic series is in Toronto, usually both of these two women have been involved with it. So she's, you know, Vanessa's been on Letterkenny, Shadowhunters, Handmaid's Tale, everything big and small. She's always also stepping in to help with indie films. You know, she's a very dedicated and wonderful collaborator for Canadian filmmakers and TV. So Hannah, I mean, ×2. Hannah has been on a very interesting journey as well. She's a super fantastic actor. I've been developing a couple of projects with Hannah, and I've gotten to know her really well over the last few years. She's just the most energetic, creative, motivating person. She also has a very successful web series, which is won this award at the inaugural Cannes series pitch competition. Just like one giant international award, you know, and she's also been involved in tons of really good projects. She's in development with Bell Media. She's been running a digital writing room, so we're really, really curious to hear about that. And so, yeah, we'll be talking to her about that series, whatever, Linda, we're going to be talking to her about all of these different things. And of course, she does have a ton of acting credits too. And I wanted to mention one of her credits called The After Lifetime of Colm Fiore, which is a short that she did. I think it's available to watch. It's just like so funny and wise. And anyway, I'm gonna stop talking about them so we can talk to them.
Amazing.
But I told you it'd be a long one. So
I did.
I don't know if they're ready after all of that. They can come and correct all my inaccuracies, but they can give us points for enthusiasm. So here's Hannah Cheesman. and Vanessa Matsui. Yay!
Hello, hello. Welcome, guys.
Hello.
Thank
So
you.
So it's our last episode, and we wanted to just make sure we talk about the most things possible. So we thought we'd bring you two, who've done a little bit of everything. There's like a lot to ask you about. Jackie, do you want to start with something?
Well, I want to hear about how you guys kind of started. I would assume that acting maybe was how you had your professional start in a way. But I don't know. How did you come to the film industry in general?
Do you want to go first, Hannah?
You go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. So I started. I went to theater school for university, and which is like something you can get your major in, believe it or not. And after theater school, I went to Montreal for theater school, and was trying to act, but at the same time, I was putting on my own plays with people that I had met at theater school, and I also started improvising. And I mean, there was a period of my life where I was doing improv probably like 5 nights a week. There's like not a bar in Montreal that I feel like I haven't performed at some point. And yeah, and then I started doing a weekly serialized, completely improvised show in Montreal that started to get really popular. It was called The Bitter End. And at like the dawn of the internet, we made a web series that did really well. So that was kind of like my first entry point into creating for the web. And then, kept acting, but I made my first short film, I don't know, I can't remember when, like sometime in my 20s, and it was a really cool experience. I wrote, I directed, and starred in it, and I was like, something kind of lit up in my brain, and I was like, oh wow, it's really cool to look at a piece from this 3D perspective instead of just being an actor in something. So that really like sparked something inside of me, and then at a certain point collaborated with 2 of my best friends, Leanne Balaban and Jenna Wright, and we made Cranky Town, also at like very early days of the internet. And it was an interactive website all about getting your first period when like menstruation was still taboo. Like this was like 15 years ago. And the National Film Board at the time had an initiative for female creators for the web, because the statistics back then was like 99% of everything made for the internet was created by men. So the NFB had this initiative for women. And that was, and I remember, presenting our work, because it's the NFB, so it's very like government professional. And I called my mom afterwards, and I was like, Mom, it was just this really incredible experience. I felt really like I couldn't find the words for it. And my mom was like, sounds like you were empowered. And I was like, damn. I was like, yes. Is this the first time that I've ever felt empowered? God. And within Cranky Town, we made these short films that were documentary puppetry, first period stories from all around the world. So we collected girls' first period stories and then animated them with puppets, and the NSI supported us with those, and we were nominated for Gemini, like when Gemini still existed. So that was also like another cool turning point, where I think I discovered that when you're creating your own work, you feel empowered versus when you're just like, especially like a 20-something actress is sometimes a hard thing to be. but then, kept acting. I got my first series regular, and that was like this thing that I had been really working towards. I moved back to Toronto at this point, but not before. Hannah, I don't even know if you remember this, but we used to work at American Apparel together.
Yeah.
On Saint Denis. That's where I first met Hannah.
Oh, really?
Totally. Yeah, we were American Apparel girls.
That's amazing. R.I.P.
Yeah.
R.I.P.
Wow.
No way. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, exactly. And I remember the other girls who worked there, they told me, they were like, Vanessa, there's another actress who's coming to work here, and she's very beautiful. And then I was like, oh yeah, she is very beautiful.
Do you guys still have some of those disco pants?
Oh,
Yeah.
The famous disco pants?
those gold onesies. I just hope that you were having that conversation while wearing those. I love those.
I know. Good old American Apparel days.
Oh dear.
So anyway, I moved back to Toronto, got my first series regular. The show, we got picked up at the CW, so that was really exciting. At this time too, I was splitting my time between LA and Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
And we got canceled by the CW after like 2 episodes, and then Canada canceled us. And then I was ghosted by the industry. Like, I didn't work for about a year, I want to say, year and a half. And it was a weird time in my life. One of my childhood best friends, she was suicidal at the time. She was on suicide watch. So I was traveling back to Montreal, staying with her. And then I would go back to LA. My friend is fine and thriving. She's a doctor. She's doing incredible now. And then I would go back to LA and be very broke, very underemployed. And then that's when I started writing what would eventually become Ghost BFF. But it started as a short play in my friend's basement that we would perform it in. And then, fast forward, I got to make a first season, and it got picked up by Elizabeth Banks's stream. And then that opened a bunch of doors, and then got greenlit for a season 2. And it's really kind of opened up my life. Like, I'm still acting. I mean, not during COVID, but it's been interesting. Like, I'm sure so many people have had a cathartic quarantine, but I was talking to Hannah about this a few weeks ago, but it's been an interesting time for me because I've had some realizations that, I always created Ghost BFF so I could be like a lead actor. That's what I want. That's what I wanted. I wanted to show, because I'd never been given like that number 1 position on a call sheet. And that was like a real thing I needed to check off. I really wanted to show the industry I could lead a show. But then, during COVID, and I've been in post-production for season 2 throughout the whole thing, and kind of realizing that, acting and creating have kind of been like the 2 boyfriends, and maybe like acting's the bad boyfriend, and creating is actually been the good boyfriend who's been there for me in all my dark times, through all my unemployment, through my really, like, it's sort of been the thing that has always been there for me and has kind of like saved my mental health over and over again. I'm in so that's where I'm at now.
That's amazing.
Wow.
Yeah. And I definitely want to talk about the mental health aspect of the sort of additional material for Ghost BFF too, because it's just so powerful and beautiful. But Hannah, tell us your life story.
I'll try and make it relatively succinct. So I was born.
Start at American Apparel and just jump around in time but also go back there all the time.
Okay, it's all roads lead to at American Apparel. In the summer, when I was going to the National Theatre School of Canada, and I had grown up as a dancer, started going to a high school that had the arts in it, and did drama then, and wrote stuff too. And then went to NTS, and that was a great experience, mostly for life rather than theater, and met Vanessa. And actually, I remember Vanessa being like she was in this play at the Fringe, and I was like, fuck, she's already in a play, you know? And I remember the bitter end and all that stuff. But so basically I did, and then I came back to Toronto and finished my degree at U of T in something else. And at the same time I was auditioning and doing stuff. So I did shorts and I did, you know, this and that, and I became actor. Like I did a commercial when I was 18 that I was like super stoked about because then I was permitted and things like that. So I did small things, you know, one-liners and stuff. And, you know, gradually built that resume. I wouldn't say that acting for me has been a slam dunk in any way. It's been continually trying and impossible. And I mean, I say that even though like my last role was as a series regular, co-star on Star Trek, you know, as an android.
No big deal.
Duh. But you know, it's like, and even that, it's like, it's a huge deal, I know, but at the same time, like it's been thin, you know? And I feel like I had a really bad relationship when I was in my mid-20s, and my money was stolen, and it was like bad. And I felt like I had wasted a lot of time. And so I decided to do a short film, much like Vanessa, much like a lot of people, it sounds like, who start in acting. Wrote, directed, starred in with my own money, you know. And at the same time that I did that, I had applied to law school because I was good at school, and it was like automatic status, and it was like automatic money, all these things. I got in to Osgoode and McGill, and I accepted it. What? I know. Which is what, at the very least I get to say, I turned down law school. Because I accepted it, and then I was at this crossroads because I had accepted it, and I was like, had this terrible relationship that ruined my life, even though I was going through a lot of depression and challenges in my 20s for a long time. And then did this short film, and I knew I had this decision to make where I deferred law school, and I was like, so what do I do? Do I take this route or do I take this route? And I come from, you know, a father who was a musician, and it was not an easy path, and it was terrifying. And I think the relationship allowed me to say, screw it, I'm just going to do it because I don't have any part of me that wanted to become a lawyer. Mm-hmm. And after I did that, I really committed in a different way and then I made my second short, which was Cheese, which has made me more money than anything, like in terms of what we put into it and what we got out, you know. Wow. It's gone all over the world. And then I made Whatever Linda, which I created with Julian Bizzotti and then wrote. And that was a big deal. Like that's when things I started to get on the map as somebody people thought of. It certainly wasn't going to happen through acting for me, you know, or it didn't seem like it did. It didn't, you know. And then that sort of turned into a deal with the Mark Gordon Company in the States where we went pitching all over to turn it into a show. And, you know, from there, more or less, like you learn how long TV development can be, especially if you're not a proven entity. And so we're in development with Bell for that. And Graham Manson is our producer. Like this has been long standing. We are going to go back to the States now that it's an hour-long show and pitch when pandemic/everything allows. And I have this other show that's based off of my father. My late father had a very serious stroke 5 years ago, and it changed all of our lives, my sister, my dad, and I. And it's about that. And I just finished this. I have 1 day left of a digital TV writers room for that, and we hand in our 3 scripts to the network on Monday. And in the meantime, you know, trying to started directing commercials a year ago, and that's frankly wonderful. And directing a feature in August, and you know, like it feels to me like the real way I got any foothold, which frankly feels like it's on dry clay all the time anyway. Sorry, is like doing stuff that hasn't been acting and writing, and it's interesting because acting feels like the way that people think of me first and foremost, because you have a brand and you're and then it stays with you. And you know, I guess the hope is that through creating stuff and having this strong base as an actor, having an understanding of performance and directing actors and scenes and pacing and all of these things, like not to poo-poo it, like it's a gift to have that resource. But yeah, so all to say, things are cool right now. Things are interesting. Just did a short film with Coral that I love beyond love. It's like my favorite piece I've ever made, maybe. And you know, there we go.
Yeah. How do you guys just hearing all the things you were doing and are currently doing, like the plate is just getting more and more full with your hands and all these different pots. How do you manage your time and and balance all these hats? You know, is it kind of like a lot more free flowing than you would think, and it's just like, okay, this project's gonna come to me and I'm gonna direct it, or I just booked a role on this TV show, so I'm gonna do that next. You know, how do you figure that out? Is there some forethought as well as to, you know, am I spending enough time acting? Am I spending enough time writing? Am I spending enough time directing? And then purposely, intentionally going for those specific jobs that allow you to do that.
I mean, I don't know what you think, Vanessa, but like, I find when you get a gig as an actor, and especially if it's longer, it's a gift. You have time and money. And that's one of the benefits of starting as an actor and still doing it, is that when you get given the gift of the gods, when, you know, the tree bows down to you and offers you its fruit, because it's truly like magic, it doesn't feel like it's hard to get a gig. You have time to work on stuff. So it's actually one of the sometimes easier times in some ways to focus on your own work, because it's really.
I totally agree. I wrote season 2 of Ghost BFF almost exclusively in my trailer and on my acting. What are those acting chairs that they sit you in when you're not on camera? While shooting Grand Army. Like so I became a mom 2 years ago, and so it's like, oh yeah, no, I get a gig, and I'm like, it is exactly what Hannah said. It's like a gift from the gods. It is guilt-free time. I get a trailer to myself. No one up in my grill. Like I write really well on set. I'm like happy to do it. Like other, you know, actors are also like really generous souls in general. Like they're reading stuff that, like if I'm having trouble with something, yeah, I feel the same way. And it's also just like, I don't know. I find you just do it. Like I sort of don't know how, like in quarantine, I had childcare taken away from me. So I had my husband works outside of the home. So I had my kid all by myself, and I finished post on my show. I wrote a 60-minute pilot. I basically did that during her naps and after she went to bed. Like, I think you just fucking do it. I don't know. Because it's like survival. Like, I need to make some money. I need like, you know, none of it, what Hannah said, getting a job isn't easy.
Yeah. And I think it is about like, I don't know about you, Vanessa, but I certainly cast a wide net and then build time as I can. You know, it's about kind of like you did with naps, but take that into the macro. And then it's like, I know I have 2 weeks here. I'm going to set a deadline for myself. Using applications is a great way to create deadlines. Like there's an application deadline for this, I don't know, industry initiative, and using those as points to get work done, and then finding collaborators who keep you accountable.
Exactly.
And then dealing with, it's really about negotiating their timelines, others' timelines with your timelines, so that you can build the structure that is your allotted bit of time. The only thing I found and started to think about more deeply is like how to not just do things halfway, you know? And that might come with some decisions, hard decisions that I make down the line, but quarantine has been a wonderful, relaxing gift, has it not, in some ways? For me? I mean,
yes,
it's intense and stuff.
Yeah, it's definitely given us time to explore. Like Jackie and I wouldn't have done this, you know, and like we're both really interested in, you know, professional development, communication, these kind of things. And I think it gave a lot of freedom to just say, like, you're in your home, you're stuck, your actual, you know, livelihood is kind of gone right now. So for those of us who always want to be busy.
No, I feel in so many ways. I mean, it has been very hard, and I obviously feel for everybody whose lives have been lost and affected by it. But then on this other side, it truly has been like a gift. Like I think about it all the time. There is no way I would have pulled my daughter from daycare.
Mhm.
And I feel like it's been this like bond and this gift that no way would I have done that if I wasn't forced. And I am so grateful. I kind of can't imagine my life without that time with her. I also don't think I would have written a pilot because you would have been, because it's like the hamster wheel of auditions too. It's like, oh, you're running around town like a crazy person and spending so much time on these auditions that you don't book. And so, yeah, I hear you.
I have to say, it's made me think about what I actually auditioned for. You know, I find I always book the auditions where I'm like, I don't think I'm going to go to this one, and then I go and then I book it. So it's probably just gonna do that.
Can you talk to us a little bit about rejection and how to deal with that? I know a lot of creators who are starting. It's very, very difficult to be rejected, especially personally, as a performer. What do you have strategies around it? Do you just say this? Keep doing it and don't take it personally, or like, I mean, it feels personal and it's difficult. But it's such an important part of becoming an artist in any of these fields. You're going to apply to things and not get them, and you're putting your heart out there.
100%. I mean, I don't look at it. I don't always look at it as rejection. I think because it's like, and Hannah, I'm sure you've had this, and both of you, when you're casting your film, it's not that these actresses who come in aren't brilliant, because most of them are. Like, I am in awe of the beauty and talent that is in this city every time I cast for stuff that I'm doing. And it's like, I want to give this part to everybody. But it's just sometimes someone comes in and they've got that thing that you are just looking for. And it's not because the other people weren't amazing. It's like, it's hard to articulate. So I always tell, from the acting side, if it's not so much a rejection, it's just like, it wasn't right for this thing. You're an artist, you're a collaborator. We're all collaborating to make this thing. It's just not that. It's not this one. Maybe the next one, maybe the one after that. And you also never know, like, I'm a reader often for casting directors. And so I'm looking at I get to witness all these incredible performances. And sometimes, you never know who's watching your audition. Like, sometimes I'm making a mental note, like, I'm like, oh, that person would have been amazing for this. And then they'll get a phone call through something else. And also, the casting director will look at you for something else. So I think it's like, you can look at it as a fluid thing.
Yeah. It's also nice to go into a room and do a really good audition and know you did that. Know that, because the agents ultimately, like, they say it all the time, they want you to do well and these things, but they do. But if they see, it's almost like there's like, I felt this a lot with Jason Knight, one of the casting agents, that he is someone I find who, like, you can have an interaction with him, a moment with him where you're doing your scene, and you both feel like you've come to a better place with the scene. And it's kind of something you've at least, like, there's a story arc within that room. And then you go. That's helpful, knowing that you've done good work on your own. It's like, that's a small win, right? And I think with acting too, it's like, and maybe I need to do like more of the power of now stuff around this. But like, God bless whoever that works for as a mode of interacting with the world. But I generally just have the sense that, like, leave it. You have to leave it. I would say harder rejection is actually with the writing work and the creative work, because it's so personal and it's so exposing. And it's so who you are and where you're at. And you can't hide if your talent isn't there yet. With writing, a lot of the time, I find, or directing. And acting, sometimes you got charm, you got charisma, you got a look. Your look is coming first. It's like there's less, in a way, it's almost less personal, and I don't know that you have to have. I remember a friend of mine saying, like, way back when I was like in considering quitting many times. That was passing across my thinking. And he was like, you know, you basically like, I don't know, you just have to keep going, and you never know until the door totally shuts in your face, it's not over. And also the other thing is you have to get small wins. At some point, it is about the feedback you're getting and hearing it, you know, hearing it on sort of like a bigger psycho-spiritual level. Like, and also we're humans, we need some bits of hope. Like we have to have wins. Like you're getting into Sundance, Vanessa, like these are wins, right? That's clear wins. And when you were in your 20s or whatever, and that wasn't yet happening for you in the same degree, like you do feel more hopeless. So it's good to chalk up the small wins.
Totally.
Yeah.
All right, guys, there is actually a little surprise that I have for you called a mystery guest.
Oh, I want to guess.
Oh my God.
No, don't say anything. No, don't say anything. Don't say anything. Here they come.
Hi everybody, how's it going?
Oh my God!
What's up?
He insisted on doing this.
I wanted to make a big entrance on Zoom. And what better Juneteenth guest than Dan Byrne?
Dan Byrne had to come in because he's actually been in every single person's project that we've had on Skillin It from the beginning. We're always like, how's Dan Byrne in this documentary about Hubert Davis's father? I don't understand.
Sneaking in.
Well, it's your muse and mine, Dan Byrne.
Hi guys. Thank you so much for having me on Skillin It.
Oh, dear goodness. All right, don't worry. We won't keep him in here too long.
Yeah, you kick me out any time. You don't have. It's really just about the entrance.
Oh, Dan.
Well, for those of you who don't know who Dan is hilarious, if you couldn't tell. Actor who, again, has been in everything. Just Google his name and you'll see. He's all over all the Canadian productions you can think of. So we're very happy to have him on the show.
Thanks, Jackie. It's nice to meet you.
Yeah,
nice to meet you. Shows up. Yeah. He's been in everything I've worked on. I'm the line producing, and I'm like, how's this guy here again?
I get the sense you guys were having a pretty serious discussion. I was a bit nervous coming. I was like, I'm bringing a joke energy. I don't know if this is right.
Oh, we need it.
It works. It works.
Tell us about your character in Ghost BFF.
Mitchell, sure, yeah. As waspy as they get. The sort of like Mitchell's new love interest is played by Gwyn Phillips, and if you know her, and we sort of looked at each other off set and we were like, oh, we're the whitest people in Toronto. That's why we got asked for this. But
that's what it says on your IMDb.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But you know, he's a I don't know, a stick in the mud, but like I guess there's some cuteness. I don't know. Is that right, Vanessa?
Yeah. You're like the white dude boyfriend.
Yeah.
Who, no, you mean well, and I mean you get a pretty sick arc this season.
Yeah, well, it's true. Like he in the first season, he was sort of representative of like people who are just like closed-minded, or like well-intentioned but closed-minded.
Exactly.
And then sort of has that sort of blown open in the second season.
Yeah, and tested. Yeah.
Yeah.
No spoilers.
Yeah. He's so good in it, guys. Like you don't understand. Dan, I finished yesterday. Like the show's done.
Oh wow! Congratulations.
Yeah, I'm really excited.
That's why you weren't free to come on the show till now.
Yeah.
You were like, I'm busy. I'm in post, guys. Sorry.
Whatever. She would fit us in any time.
Yeah.
And Hannah, what's the last time you worked with Dan? Did he play a milquetoast villain as well for you?
That was a long time ago. That was my first short film Dan was in.
Yeah.
And he was so gracious and patient with, the tiniest budget. And at the end, he was literally at the end of the shoot, the poor guy, he's like in a closet, tied up with tape on his mouth and combed on his head. Like it was the worst.
Yeah, covered in egg. Oh no, it was fun.
It's like I would like, if I could at this day and age, I'd be like, but don't worry, we hired someone to give you a shower.
Hired someone to give you a shower. Ew, no.
Yeah. Someone to bathe me would be great.
Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Someone bathing me.
Yeah.
Someone paid to bathe me.
I was supposed to be the intimacy coordinator, but here I am giving you a bath. Yeah.
Wow. Can't wait for those stories to blow up the tabloids, Dan. Oh, God. So I'm going to ask our guests about working with actors. Dan,
working with actors?
Yeah. What are your hot tips for directors working with actors? What do these two do that is great? They're obviously great directors.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think just having the experience being an actor from both of them was invaluable. I'm sure you probably covered that, but like that is like, because I started as a director and then got more into acting and then went back.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So now I'm like, I have directed since, and it's like, oh, so much more informed about how to talk to people and how not to talk to people. I think that's what I suffered from. I'm a very technical performer and technical thinker. So I would tend to micromanage and over explain and I suffer from that stuff. So I worked with Matthew Rankin Coral, who you know.
Yes.
And that was a lesson in direction too, where I was like, look at how little he's directing these actors. Like he's just bringing them in and letting them do it, and just like accepting what they're bringing and adapting to that, as opposed to being like, you got to fit right here. I was like, how is this going to be good? And then it was incredible. So it's like, it really works to just really take someone, take what the essence that someone's bringing, and that kind of true collaboration really, I think, can open up work.
That leads directly to CSAs, from what I understand, with Matt Rankin's work.
Oh, the topic? Yeah, sure. Yeah,
no, that style of directing. Yeah, for sure.
I don't know if any of your viewers watched the CSAs, but it was a hilarious experience.
Oh, what happened? I don't even know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, well, it was similar to like an emergency broadcast. That was like reading out a list of victims, like from like a flood or something. It was just like, and John Boyle and Davis Quinton, and the winner is Davis Quinton. Moving on. And the whole thing was 25 minutes, and there included this this might be like, I don't know, too shady of me to say, but there was this very funny clip in there that was one of the heads of the CSAs saying like, it's been a really hard time, and honestly, we weren't even going to do this, but let's do it. It was just like, oh wow, you've really set an inviting tone.
And then they played that Hall & Oates song.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a funny night.
You've got to feel for them, because it's like, people work on these shows for a year, and then to just
Well, that's what I mean. Like don't say you weren't gonna do it. Like, don't be like, it's like going to a party and being like, welcome everyone. Honestly, I wasn't even gonna have this party, but have a great time, get a sandwich. I'll
probably leave my own party soon. Goodbye.
Yeah, exactly.
Obviously, it's gonna be terrible.
It just felt like, I can go if you want. We don't have to do this. Yeah.
So passive aggressive. So Canadian.
So Canadian.
So Canadian.
All right, get out of here.
Okay, bye. Thanks, guys.
No, are you exit music? No, it doesn't matter.
No,
Okay.
I don't have it right.
I thought it was going to be Dove Charney. Like I thought it was going to be
American Apparel dude.
Oh, that'd
Yeah.
be like,
wait a minute, is she breathing?
if I'd known, I would have brought. I don't. Anyway. Okay,
I
bye,
can't wait.
guys.
I can't wait for Dove Charney's appearance. Bye.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh my
So
god.
funny. Well,
And look what Laura says. I want to come to this party. So many great people. And it's not Zoom, you guys. It's professional free software.
StreamYard.
Oh boy. Great.
I wanna dive into your guys' web series a bit more specifically. So, web series.
What is the internet?
It's kind of like this new frontier, right? It's like, especially now, I would think, there's so many people now having their eyes on different digital platforms and digital content, and a lot more funding bodies that are putting these calls out for specifically web series. So I want to hear a bit more about your experience working in that format, and also specifically, like, how far did it take you? How did your web series, specifically because it was web series, empower you, as Vanessa said, but also impact your careers as multi-hyphenates?
Vanessa, why don't I start just because like I did mine a while ago and you're way more, you're doing stuff now in that regard, in that area. For me, it was, so like we released it 5 years ago and that was like way earlier on. Like there were no initiatives like at South by Southwest or any of these things that like showed web series yet. So it was actually not, that wasn't great. Like it's great, I think now that there are avenues to have your stuff seen better, like more formalized, legitimized avenues. But it was, I think it changed my career. Like it, making it known that I was part of something that could be that strong and that I could write. And, it's the only time I've been a number one on a call sheet for anything of size. It was, what it did was it sort of, because it made waves, it allowed me to then have conversations with literary agents and with, to be considered to work in writers' rooms and things like that, and that was not the case at all before. So I didn't go a sort of like path which was like in Canada, going to the CFC, getting, meeting all the literary agents, seeing if you can get into a room. It was much more, I don't know what it's not even unconventional because I think a lot of people do this now, but it absolutely just put me on a map in a different way than I had been before, and seen in a little bit of a different, actually maybe in a significantly different light than I had before. So in that way, in terms of creating my brand, but also in doing good work, it was very, very valuable and has informed my career thus.
Fantastic.
That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, my experience has been pretty different.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, like nobody wants me in a writer's room. I can't get a meeting.
What? Oh my god!
Like I feel like it's opened up things in a different way for me. Like it was, just like, believe it's like confidence wise. I feel like just knowing that I was able to do that and do it and feel proud about something kind of changed something for me in my brain. Getting funding for a second season because of the first season was just like so much easier. I mean, to make that first season, it took Katie and I like 3 to 5 years to get even that far. And then season 2 was just like it happened so quickly. So that was just incredible. And also, because of Ghost BFF, I got to go to Sundance and be a fellow and participate in that lab. And that lab like completely changed my life. I mean, the people that I've gotten to work with and my fellows in that lab are so important to what I write and to what I make. Like I feel like I found this community that I wouldn't have found in LA if it hadn't been for them. And so it's nice that even though I'm here in Toronto, I still feel like I have this foot in the States. That's like, it's important to me.
And that was a program specifically for like digital content creators, right? Or
yeah, kind of. I mean, it was for kind of hyphenated artists. Like we were all, it's their newest lab. And it was like everybody in that lab, they were, I mean, like Lindsay, she's the showrunner of Dance Moms. But she's also an actress. She's also a writer. Another woman, Daisy, she's a ballerina, but she's also a writer. It was for hyphenated artists. And I found that really interesting because I think, because I don't know if you find this, Hannah, but I sometimes think, I don't know what it is in Canada sometimes, if it's more difficult for people to understand that I am this hyphenated artist, whereas in the States, it seems like very clear, and that's a thing that a lot of people do. But I don't know. Yeah, we'll see. I would very much love to be in a writer's room. I think that's my big goal to come out of season 2. And also just like how much I grew as a writer, period. Like that, I feel like I couldn't have done that without writing it.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. Did you have were you co-writing with anyone, Vanessa?
Yeah, season 1 was co-written with Katie Nolan of Babe Nation, who's awesome, and she's my producer. Like she produced season 2. She's produced the whole thing, and then this season I wrote by myself, and then my friend Brent, who is the story editor for season 1, he wrote a couple episodes this season because we were just so rushed and it just had to get like divided and conquered.
Did you break the season together, or did you just break it and then he got the outline?
I think I knew what, I don't want to give the spoiler. Like I knew where Amy was starting, and I knew where she was finishing, and I knew where Tara was starting, and I knew where Tara was finishing. And I had ideas for the in-between. So then Brent and I spent a week and we broke the season and figured out like all the in-between things. And then exactly, he went back to Montreal, I went to Toronto. He had a couple episodes and I did the rest.
So you were like the showrunner, clearly.
Yeah, which I effing love. Like that's also what I want. Like that's a goal for the future, which I'm sure Hannah, you feel the same way. But yeah, I would love to do that one day for TV.
Yeah.
As Coral had mentioned earlier with Ghost BFF, I would say it's an instance of impact filmmaking because at the end of each episode, there's a segment where you and Katie talk and give information on mental health. And you guys were funded by TELUS specifically because of the themes that you were dealing with. I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about that and how was that something that you wanted to be a part of the project from the beginning, or was it kind of like when you were looking for funding, you're like, oh wait, this can be so much more?
Yeah, so it was kind of both. I mean, Katie and I both knew when we realized we were broaching this topic that I didn't want to just make a show about suicide and like leave it out there. We both felt like that would probably be pretty irresponsible. so we knew that we wanted somehow like resources to be included, but we weren't quite sure how. And then we did this pitch competition called University that was for like BIPOC creators. Katie and I won a mentorship from Anna Serrano, and her mom, so she came on as executive producer for season 1. Her mom, Tita, happens to be this like mindfulness guru at the Center for Mindfulness Studies. And so Anna was like, why don't you take a meeting with my mom? And we did. We fell in love with Tita. Tita does a couple of the episodes.
Cool.
And what Katie and I both really loved about the Center for Mindfulness Studies, like we loved, mindfulness was super new to me. I had never meditated really before doing Ghost BFF. And now it's like this huge part of my life. And I kind of can't believe that it wasn't before. But we really loved like practicing mindfulness. It's actually like evidence-based, it's cost-effective. We were attracted to it because our demographic were, women in their 20s, like there's really a two-way system for people in this country and in most countries around the world when it comes to mental health. It's like people who have money and people who don't. So if you have money, you're able to do like conventional therapy, you can pay. But, when you're struggling in your 20s, a lot of people don't have that kind of money. So we thought it might be cool to offer some basic tools if you're suffering from anxiety, not if you're suicidal. If you're suicidal, that is for medical professionals and you should call 911. But just some, evidence-based, cost-effective tools that you can bring into your life to help manage anxiety. So that's kind of how it came. And then TELUS agreed, like the TELUS Wellness Fund wanted some sort of like practitioner involved. So it worked both ways. Mm-hmm.
So it's such a thoughtful approach to the content that you're doing, and you're just like making sure you're taking care as you're going. So it was so wonderful to see that, for sure. Hannah, with your new series that you're writing, it's very close to home for you. Yes. How is that process for you when you're kind of writing about your own relationship with your family and using sort of those real life sort of situations as a jumping off point?
Yeah, interestingly, we have the TELUS Wellness Development Fund because it's about strokes. It's about stroke dementia, and it's also about 2 daughters and their father. And that's why it's close to home, because that was our experience. Fictionalized, of course. But, so it's interesting because I think we saw that it would fit that mandate. And so that's why we applied for the development part of it. And we will gear up to now apply for the production funding of it. So, it's part of this thing like chase the money too. If it's there. If you can develop a team that they can trust and they're like, okay, these people produced before, we trust them, etc. Otherwise it's been interesting because we started the room during the pandemic. We were supposed to do it later in the year after a bunch of people had stuff that they had to finish.
Right.
And then it got pulled up during the pandemic and got done earlier. And weirdly, it happened like my father died 3 days before we were supposed to start the room. And we pushed it, obviously. And so it's been really wonderful because it's been, I'm trying to think of like if there's something important and helpful to say to people who are creating material. Like one thing I know about this project is that it's like inherently has deep meaning for me. And it hasn't been hard for me to find a reason or the energy to create this project. If you're trying to find projects that you want to invest in and create, and also that question you said, Jackie, about like, how do you choose? How do you juggle? Like I have found trying to make the choices around what I do to be very challenging at times. And I think it's important on your slate or whatever of this roster of things that multi-hyphenates might do to really make sure there are a few projects where like your heart is just like, no question. Yes, I'm here. Because I think we need those things to as artists and creators, and also because then it balances the stuff that you might do more for money or you know, or the bartending job you have, or, and it's always going to be easier to pitch when it comes from your heart. You know, unless you're doing a police procedural and you're really good at that, and you know, everyone's like, great, we can sell this in 357 countries. But yeah, so it's been good to tap into the part of me that's sort of this endless well of inspiration, because it means something to me.
Yeah. Jackie, any final question?
Yeah, I'm wondering, have you guys ever had any pushback from important people in your careers because of all the things that you were juggling? For example, agents maybe who are like, what are you doing? You need to go to this audition. Or other collaborators or anything like that, thinking that you're not prioritizing enough time. And just generally, like, I feel as an emerging multi-hyphenate that and I think it has a lot to do with being Black as well, or just being a person of color, maybe just a woman, I don't know, but being marginalized. I feel like a lot of times people think that instead of committing myself to one thing and spending all my time trying to get really, really good at that one thing, they think that having my hands in these different pots is a sign of confusion, or you know, you're just doing too much. Like, why are you doing all of this? So I'm wondering if you've ever had some sort of iteration of that kind of pushback, and how you deal with it.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly, I'll just say this quickly, I'm looking at the time as well. I certainly have had that pushback, less from agents, because I think agents, smart ones, see that that's going to make your career grow. The more you're known, the better. As an actor, I mean to say, as an acting agent. As literary agents, I mean, if they take you on and they know you're a multi-hyphenate, they know what they're getting into. But then otherwise, I would say the hardest thing is to get people to feel like you're a legitimate talent at, say, writing, right? And to make sure that you, in fact, are at a level as a writer. And I find that can be challenging, because it's kind of like, yeah, she's an actor, you know? That's undermining. I find that energy, and maybe I'm projecting it because it's an insecurity of mine. But I guess just making sure that my quality of work, you know, trusted partners and collaborators to send it to, so that they can vet it and get feedback, so that when it does go to the more legitimate parties who might have an attitude like you're talking about, it's sort of more undeniable.
Yeah, I've never had a negative pushback about being like a multi-hyphenated artist. Like, my agents are super supportive, and in fact, I feel like I wouldn't have gotten signed in LA if I hadn't had this other thing. I mean, they've told me that. They're like, no, you came in with this awesome trailer and you were doing your thing, and like, we loved it. Like, so I feel like that actually is what makes my reps excited about me. Exactly, like, because I want to be in a writer's room and I want to eventually showrun, I'm definitely taking more time. Like, I realize I have a lot of work to do as a writer still. I mean, obviously, I mean, you're going to grow for your whole life, but it is about like making my next pilot like undeniable. I want it to be bulletproof. It's finding those right eyes and collaborators who I trust to help get my pilot where I want it to be. And I think also, like, you know, if people are giving you a hard time about that, like, all art informs other art, and even like living your life. Like, I mean, some people, I've had so many people ask me like about having a kid and being an actor and like what that has been like. And it's like, dude, you know, you just got what? I'm going to put my life on hold for like this career that who fucking knows, you know, where there's so little control. And I think like becoming a mother has made me a better artist on so many levels. And so, yeah, I think it's like you gotta live your life, and like whatever the art that you want to make, I think just do it. And like, you know, fuck the haters. Like anybody who's not honoring
Yeah.
you as a multi-hyphenated. And I think it's also like, that's the future.
Absolutely.
I just want to do this one thing real quick here. Okay.
That's all I'm gonna say.
And on that note,
Oh yeah. Oh no, that's the end. Oh no, I'll turn it off.
amazing.
Dark Charney.
Yeah, totally.
Who else is hiding under here? I just want to thank you both so much for your honesty and sharing so much. This is like, and even more wonderful than I thought. And you've just have such an incredible outlook on life. And you know, thanks for sharing your time with us. This is a wonderful way to end this series. And I
It would be a better finale, truly.
Well, congrats on your series, and you know, the people who have been getting things out of watching it. It's wonderful. It's wonderful.
It drops July 7th. Am I allowed to plug?
Yeah, plug.
of course. Oh yeah, I forgot how these
July 7th, Kind of TV. Please
Amazing.
watch. Amazing people worked on it. I'm so proud of everyone who was involved.
Fantastic. And we'll put a link everywhere that you can see this video. So
Wicked.
Oh, nice. Awesome.
Yeah. Thank you both very much. Well,
Thanks for having me. This was a
so
delight.
cool. So nice. All right.
And my daughter didn't wake up. It's like
Oh
a
yeah.
miracle.
She's gonna wake up right now.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. See you guys on the other side.
Thank you.
Oh,
So great.
so good,
We're so lucky.
right?
Oh,
Wow.
this is
Honestly.
Sasha said this. Look, such wise advice.
Truly. She knows. She listens. She gets it. Wow. It's the end of the road, Coral. For now.
I know.
For now.
So this has been so great. We're gonna put it on
Really?
everything. It's gonna be available forever.
Yeah.
For a viewing pleasure.
We prepared our goodbye speeches as much as the CSA has prepped.
I never wanted to be here. Goodbye.
Yeah.
I don't have anything written.
But, yeah, honestly, thank you guys so much for watching. This has been
Thanks, everyone.
fun. I can't believe it's been 8 weeks of this. It's like, kind of
Oh,
crazy.
God.
But what a pleasure to do this with Coral. Couldn't have done it without her.
Jackie, you're going to be in my life forever. I'm never letting you go. You've shaped this so much. This little idea that I was like, maybe we'll do this thing. So wonderful to have such a collaborator.
Yes, I'm so happy to be.
Yay.
Yeah.
So we're going to put up nothing because there's nothing coming up. Oh no.
Jackie's Corner.
Yes.
Watch Jackie's
Nothing.
Corner, baby. It'll be on YouTube. It'll be on Instagram right after this. So take a look. Who did I speak with? I spoke with none other than my friend and roommate, Gita Miller.
Oh,
She is an actress. She just graduated from the 2019 Actors Conservatory at CFC. So
Gita.
she's about big life. And so take a look at that. And then we'll see you when we see you.
See
Right.
you when we see you.
Yeah.
Second wave? Just kidding. Too soon. Not funny. Oh God. Bye.
Coming soon, yeah.
Season 2? Question mark.
Love it. And on that note, bye.
Oh no.